I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog vlog. My foster father and I travel to beautiful places. He does the plogging and I tell the stories. Today we're at White Rock Conservation Estate in Ipswich. Sandstone glowing pale against eucalypts. A track that climbs steadily towards the ridge. This is the final episode of Chapter 2. I'll circle back to why that matters a little later. Quick question before we set off. When you picture old age, do you imagine leaning in towards others or taking time for yourself? White Rock is quiet at first light. Paper barks catch the sun. Resin on an ironbark smells faintly sweet. My foster father walks ahead, racing the dawn to reach the top and gather good footage for me to edit. He'll come back down to pick up litter later, and he'll stumble across an uncomfortable surprise. A sign that wasn't here on his last visit. Back home, I'm still sorting my mother's diaries. I found them boxed with photos after she died. Old exercise books, ticket stubs taped in, corners smudged with sunscreen in years. I scan pages, add sticky notes, and read aloud to friends who can bear the long story. This week, I'm in 1993. Mum and her childhood friend David are halfway through the United States. The pages smell faintly of damp paper and insect repellent. Liz wrote in her diary, New Orleans, 10th of May, 1993.
I'm going to get those on the way down.
The French Quarter looks like a cross between a European town and one from South America. Muddy river, t-shirt shops, bars that might fall down. A paddle steamer's horn shook the dock. She continued. Tried to sleep in the airport last night. Jazz tracks cycled too loudly over the PA. Cleaners drifted like ghosts. Security pretended not to look. I copied a lyric from a blues song that floated across the room. How come my dog don't bark when you come around? And the whole scene felt like a set. Everyone waiting for their cue. And then, went into a voodoo shop. No photos allowed. Small altars, candles, things asking to be left alone. I touched one by accident, wiped my fingers on David's sleeve. The curse is on you now. We laughed. They checked their packs at Greyhound. The bags were sent ahead. David phoned home to his mum and to check on Arnold, the dog from our Bribey Island episode. The one where Liz and David found each other again. Everything was fine. Then the road bent towards Vicksburg and its earthworks. Trenches and cannon and the long echo of a civil war. Before New Orleans, there'd been the Grand Canyon and the desert. Flagstaff to Kingman, cheap motels, and long waits. Liz wrote, Kingman, 5th of May, 1993. Met an American Indian man in Kmart, surname Redfeather. Talked about work in the heat. Old David told me later. At 25, the only Indigenous stories I'd heard were Maori tales told by my father, picked up as he rode a motorcycle around New Zealand after finding his girlfriend in bed with his best friend. That's a whole other story. Redfeather spoke about family, about staying, leaving, returning. Nothing profound in the words, but it was the first time I realised I'd been looking at people instead of listening to them. He added, that was the start of empathy for me, not because I understood, but because I knew I didn't. And that my job from then on was to listen and try to understand. We're back on the ridge now. Wind brushes the leaves. The track crunches underfoot. The sun is climbing, warming the sandstone and colouring it orange. It's still quiet. The fun run crowds haven't arrived yet.
Let's go pick up some rubbish.
Last week at Karawatha, I talked about allo-parenting, how that word fits our lives more honestly than step or foster, how care runs across bloodlines. This week, I've been thinking about grandparenting. Not everybody gets to be a grandparent. Not everybody wants to be one. And for many families, for-profit childcare is the only workable option.
There's a vet. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Mentos. Always Mentos. Never ever have a trip without Mentos.
But I think something else may have shifted too. As a culture, we market retirement like a long-deserved exhale centered on the self. Ease as the horizon. Comfort is the story. I'm genuinely curious whether that story makes people well.
So I just went up there. Oh dear. This wasn't here before. Come, look at this. This is a new sign. I've never seen this before. I went up there. I went around that way. You'll see it later. I went around that way. I did not see this sign. I'm not supposed to go up there. Don't go up there. Don't go up there. Now that I know, don't go up there. Oh, crap. There's the water bottles. Those water bottles, let's not call this climbing, all right? This is no climbing. I'm not going to climb anymore, promise. But I'm going to get those water bottles I got before. It's not too far. This isn't climbing. It's not climbing, promise. Bit of plastic. Still not climbing. This is walking. This is going up steps. This is the water bottle I got before. Still not climbing. That was climbing, but I didn't know. That was climbing. This is not climbing. That was almost falling. And the cafe. I'm still stepping. See, I'm not climbing. Not climbing.
I've been reading about development across a lifetime because Mum's diaries keep sending me to books. In psychology, egocentrism is a childhood thing, a stage where we can't yet take another person's perspective.
Let's see if there's any rubbish up here. I'm not going to climb.
Most of us grow out of it as we head into our teens.
That's the way I went before. I could not have seen the sign. City Council, sorry.
Later in life, another model says the task is generativity, caring for what comes next. Children, yes, but also community, art, trees, rivers.
This reminds me of Carnarvon Gorge.
And then, if we're lucky, a kind of integrity where we look back and feel the thread. I don't want this to sound like a lecture. I'm still learning. I'm only wondering aloud. What happens if the final chapters are written as a return to the first stage, a narrowing back into I and me? And if that's the trend, is it the advertising's fault, the economy's, or just the way modern life funnels us inward?
Pretty good.
We walk among trees. A warm breeze comes up the slope, and a hawk-like bird circles once and drifts away. My foster father ignores the toilet paper snagged in the scrub. He refuses to pick up other people's crap anymore. At least not actual crap. We'll stick to the little plastic crap that often wraps crap food. We'll clean up the waste from what goes in, not what comes out.
Oh, here we go. I've said it before. This is Plog Vlog, not Plog Bog. I'm not picking up someone else's No way. We're just not doing that anymore.
Mum used to mark days like this with tiny lines in the margin. Cool wind, good view. We laughed at nothing. When she read her tattered philosophy book, she copied out the big questions asked by big people long ago. Sometimes I imagine her asking those from the top of a lookout, not a library.
Little white rock, huh?
It changes the tone. You get a little braver about answering.
Someone's had a fire there.
I doubt those questions matter to a bird of prey eating a lizard. But they matter to me. I can't appear on camera or use my real voice. That's partly about safety. Partly about keeping the focus where it belongs. It also lets me place the story on the places and the people I love. Mum, old David, my aloe parents with the tongs and bags, so that I don't turn into the centre of it. I'm trying to write an autobiography that isn't egocentric, to be a side character in a world that needs care. We edge across more sandstone, past the cold coals of a makeshift campfire. Sand grains grind under our soles. On this kind of ground, thinking about grandparenting feels less like policy and more like practice. Whose day did you make easier? Whose future did you nudge forward? Which creek will run a little clearer because you were gentle with it? As paid work becomes less central with age, maybe purpose should drift back to care, to relationships, to the patient repair of places. Maybe some grandparents and many non-grandparents could find meaning the old way, through service. Service to their descendants rather than service to the market.
Trinity roused on me the other day after the Carnarvon Gorge one because I didn't take enough B-roll. She didn't have enough footage to cover her narration. So I'm just going to take tons and tons of footage nowadays so that I don't get in trouble.
At the start, I mentioned this being the end of Plog Vlog's second chapter.
Oh, guess what? It says no climbing.
Chapter 1 ended at a logical point in Mum's life. I thought Chapter 2 would end when Mum and David, her childhood friend, finished their meandering crossing of the USA in 1993. But I kept finding ideas I had to chase, detours that led somewhere true. So here we are at episode 10, and they're only halfway through America. The stories are bigger than I expected.
Which way?
Mum's story.
I think I better head back. We can do it that way another time.
And my story. I've decided to base Plog Vlog chapters around practicality rather than chapters in Mum's biography. I'm keeping chapters to 10 episodes, so the compilations and recaps don't become unwieldy.
Car park's this way.
There's so much ahead. UK, Europe, Turkey, Southern Africa, and that's just their first trip together. There were many more after that. So, Chapter 2's compilation and recap episodes will be coming out soon.
So, 2 hours in, it's only been 5Ks, and that's what we got. And I just got this one.
I'm also looking forward to experimenting in Chapter 3, trying different filming rhythms, playing with edits, letting background sounds live a little more in the foreground. Let's see if the story can hold it. We start down. The bag is a little fuller. The track sounds a little cleaner underfoot. If this place moved you, even a little, there's an interactive map in the pinned comment. One day, come to this place. Bring a small bag. Pick up a few pieces. Help keep White Rock an oasis. New Orleans fades like brass on the wind. Kingman sits in the heat. White Rock glows in the morning light. Different eras, same question. If we don't want our last chapters to fold back into ourselves, where could we offer service? To people, places, and the quiet future pressing forward. That'll do.
I'm trying really hard to remember to record the tracks that we do so that you can come back and help keep this place clean. I'm going to put links in the comments below. There'll be a pinned comment. So what I'm going to do to help me remember is record when I start the recording on this, and all I do is record when I turn it off. There we go. And I saw a treasure. Then, who is the court to the sins?